Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 648 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. Head of the Avdiivka City military administration in Donetsk region, Vitaly Barabash, claimed that the Russian soldiers who executed unarmed Ukrainian servicemen have been killed, reports Freedom TV channel. On Saturday, 2nd December, a video was posted online of Russian occupiers shooting some Ukrainian soldiers who had surrendered at a location believed to be near the settlement of Stepove, Zaporizhia Oblast. The Ukrainian armed forces are checking the video. According to Barabash, 2 Ukrainian soldiers surrendered because they ran out of ammunition. A little later, Ukrainian troops regained these positions and all who were there were killed. According to the Daily Telegraph, Germany plans to lower its contribution to the 20 billion euros European Union Weapons Fund for Ukraine, reports European Pravda. In the confidential document leaked to the press, the German side notes that the European Peace Facility ought to account for the billions of euros that Germany has bilaterally provided to Ukraine in military aid. Berlin feels that contributions to the fund should include direct arms sales to Ukraine. At the same time, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz informed his fellow European Union members that while he remained fully committed to providing financial support for Ukraine, further obligations regarding hard-to-fulfill expenses were rendered unfeasible by the recent ruling of the German Constitutional Court. According to another document the publication examined, France suggested shifting its focus to general purchases from European arms manufacturers, and is in favor of ending the European Peace Facility's capacity to supply weapons from EU member states' stockpiles. EU leaders will discuss the reform of the European Peace Fund at a summit in Brussels on 14th-15th December. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, in the apps where you are listening to this podcast: Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and others. This really helps more people to find out about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. Politico informs that a draft copy of the new U.S. National Defense Industrial Strategy says American companies can't build weapons fast enough to meet global demand, reports Ukrainska Pravda. The report notes that after the Cold War, the defense industry shrunk as companies merged. Yet China has spent the past 30 years becoming a global industrial powerhouse in shipbuilding, critical minerals, and microelectronics. China's industry vastly exceeds the capacity of not just the United States but the combined output of our key European and Asian allies as well, it says. The report also points out that the COVID pandemic laid bare the supply chain's vulnerabilities. Then Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the Hamas attack on Israel uncovered a different set of industrial demands and corresponding risks as the US races to produce arms to support both Israel and Ukraine. It has become clear that insufficient production and supply capacity are now deeply entrenched problems throughout all tiers of production supply chains, the report says. To fix the problem, the strategy says Department of Defense will develop more resilient and innovative supply chains, invest in smaller businesses, and focus more on innovation. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We're a commercial initiative of just 2 people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.